Hello, welcome to another episode of Scared Shitless. My name is Sarah Simajist, and I am your host of your favorite podcast. Today, we're going to talk about letting go of what no longer serves you. Oftentimes, we have such a hard time letting go of things that we know for sure no longer serves us, but we're so afraid of the future. We're so afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of the decision that we're going to make, whether it's going to be better or worse. But we already know that the situation that we're currently in no longer serves us, no longer brings value to us. And we still have such a hard time letting it go because we're just so scared. I have countless of examples of where I took way too long to make a decision to move forward. And when I did decide to move forward, the decision was the best. And it brought me so much more value to be in another situation. I'll give you an example. I bought my first condo in 2014. It was a 1-bedroom condo, about 620 square feet in Ottawa. And along the way, I started learning more and more about real estate. I didn't know much when I first bought it. I had a little bit of money after graduation, so I decided to buy a condo. But along the way, I learned more and more about real estate investing. And about in 2020, I believe, I realized that this condo was no longer doing much for me. The money that I had into it, I could pull it out and I could put it towards another deal. But it took me a very long time to make that move because when I first bought it, even though I didn't buy it with the intention of renting it, I ended up renting it. And along the way, I thought, oh, that's a great decision. This is going to be a condo that I'm going to keep for 25 years. I'm going to have it completely paid off. And once it's paid off, it's going to cash flow this amount because I'm no longer going to have a mortgage. I'm also going to leave this condo for my kids and maybe sell it when they're old enough to go to university. And that would be maybe their university college funds. I wouldn't have to open an RESP for them, et cetera, et cetera. So I had this idea of what this condo meant and what it could do for me in the future. But then I realized what it could do for me right now. I could take that money, reinvest it, and it could make me way more money than it was making me at the time. And also, when I analyzed the equity that this condo was gaining year over year, it wasn't very much. Around the area, there was nothing that was really being built, which typically increases the value of a property. If there's grocery stores, maybe cinemas, or public transportation that comes nearby that's being constructed, but nothing was really happening in the area. So I felt like there wasn't much growth in the equity. And I knew that for maybe a couple of years, but I didn't want to sell it because of the idea that I had of this condo, what it could do for me in the future. And finally, when I did decide to pull the trigger and sell it, first of all, I had a really good realtor and he ended up selling it for me at the highest price that anybody had ever sold a condo in that complex so far. And I was able to reinvest that money into another property and in passive investment. And it was bringing me way more money than it was at the time. And I'm not sure if in the future, maybe there could have been something that was going to be built around that condo that could have increased its value. But at the time, I felt like I didn't need to keep that money in that condo. I could do way more for it. And it took me way too long to make that move. Other times we hold on more to like an identity. You know, let's say you want to start social media channel or you want to start a new career. You're kind of stuck in what the previous career represents for you, right? And you wonder, well, you know, maybe I have to go to school for X amount of years and maybe I have to have some more debt and there's going to be a lot of time spent and energy spent to change careers. But you know that your current career no longer serves you or your current career is no longer something that makes you happy and you still stick with it. And sometimes we think, oh, we're too old or I can't do this because X, Y, Z, right? We have all these excuses. Meanwhile, the time that you're taking to think about this decision, let's say you take 2, 3, 4 years to think about it, you could have been done your schooling or you could have acquired the experience to just switch careers. So sometimes it's not school. Sometimes it's just experience that you need. Sometimes you just need to volunteer and grind it out a little bit for a certain period of time in order to make that switch, and we take way too long. Actually give you an example of this very same podcast. I had the idea of doing this podcast for a while now, maybe for a year now. I wanted to do a solo podcast. As some of you know, my husband and I had a podcast named Same Page, and we filmed 99 episodes together, almost 100. I actually still have the 100, 101, 102 episodes filmed. We just never released it. And at some point, I wanted to go off and do a podcast on my own, but I felt like my identity was with Same Page. I thought I was like the half of Same Page, and if I branched out on my own, people would start thinking there's something wrong in our marriage, etc., which there isn't. It's just no longer something that we wanted to do together, and that was fine. That's a decision that we made together, and I still wanted to have a podcast, and it took me way too long. I had so many ideas of topics that I wanted to bring to you guys, and I had sat on it for like a year until one day I was just like, I don't want to be one of those people who have an idea and dies with it. And that really clicked, because one of the mottos that I live by is live full, die empty. And I felt like, if I really want to live full, that means I have to try to put my ideas out there and try to be what I want to be despite who I was before. Sometimes you have to switch and you have to reinvent yourself. And so don't be afraid to let go of the past, because maybe there's a better future. And yes, maybe it's going to take energy and resources to get there, and you have to restart. And we don't like that. Or people are going to judge you like, oh, you were this before and now you're that. Or who do you think you are? Switching careers. Do you think you're better than us? Or even sometimes it's with social media, right? Sometimes you want to switch your social media from personal stories, personal pictures of your kids and your vacations, and you're trying to start a business or a new venture, and you want to post more about that. And you're kind of afraid because your identity is more like, well, I'm a mom and I only post things about my family and happy things and vacation. But you're afraid of what people are going to think if you kind of switch that identity to somebody new. And let me tell you, a lot of people have ideas that they want to bring to life, and they're afraid of people's criticism. And most of the time, I think that's what it is. We're just afraid of what other people are going to think. Therefore, we stay in what no longer serves us. So we have such a hard time letting go. But meanwhile, once we let go, we become free, right? Free of other people's thoughts. And you don't live your life for other people. So this message is really for the people who feel like they want to let go of something that no longer serves them. Maybe they're miserable in it. Maybe they know that the future or another venture was going to be better for them, but they just can't seem to make that first step. But I'm here to tell you that if you even try, you're going to be ahead of a lot of other people who are just sitting on their ideas. So let go of what no longer serves you and just go for what you feel is next for you, whether it's selling a property, changing a career, posting on social media, and switching a sport that you think, maybe you were playing a sport and now you want to play another. And yes, maybe some people might talk about you, and maybe you may make a mistake, and I'm not sure if you're going to regret letting it go, but you'll never know until you do it. And most of the times, even if it doesn't end up exactly as you pictured, but it can still end up better than your previous situation. So this was your episode on letting go of what no longer serves you. If you're liking the content, please give me a subscribe on Facebook, give me a like, drop me a comment, and let me know also what other topics you'd like me to bring. Again, I'm your host, Sarah Simajust, and thank you for watching.